we welcome the Hegeman family. Today we are joined by John's wife, Ellen, John's children, Claire and Andrew, John's granddaughter, Olivia, John's sister-in-law, Senior Judge Sheila Corcoran, and her husband, John Stevens, and John's good friend, Errol Phipps. We're also joined in spirit by John's daughter, Mary, and John's sister, Mary. Welcome to you all. Also, we welcome the judges and fellow members of the bar. Thank you for coming to show your support of John and his family. We take this opportunity to stand with our friends and our colleagues in memorial and celebration of a fellow member. And that's one of the most important things we can do as a bar association. Please welcome Mike Schottmeyer, who will be the master of the ceremony.
My name is Mike Schottmeyer. I'm senior partner to John, even though he was 2 years my senior. John, as you'll hear from Judge Crowley, who will be speaking in a moment, went to law school a little later than did I. Esteemed members of the bar, judges, family, particularly the Evansville Bar Association, thank you for putting this together for my partner John, our partner John Hegeman. We're going to have 3 of us speak today. The order will be that Scott will lead off, Scott Schroed. Scott is a longtime family member. He's going to bring a perspective that goes deeper and longer than some of us here. And he's come up from Tennessee today, and special friend of the family. And then, as I alluded to, from law school friend, Knox County Judge Tim Crowley, also a county councilman from Knox County. Tim will speak, and then I will wrap things up with a few more comments about John. And with that, Scott will kick us off.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike, I appreciate so much your organization in putting this together. It was a great assistance to me, as I'm sure it was everyone else. If John would be standing here today, he would be the first to tell us that he has been restored, that he's in a place of wonder about which he always had certainty. And accordingly for him, today is one of celebration. And you'll note that the words were, if John would be standing here today, because John is here today, through his family, through his friends, and his colleagues. Now, is there any of us here today that didn't spend an hour with John without experiencing that wonderfully wicked, dry wit, usually in the form of a quip, quickly followed by a rather sly smile? So when I make my remarks, it might be of help to all of us to think about what John might say to a couple of them and enjoy his humor once again. The best commencement address of the over 50 that I've heard, and frankly usually suffered through, was delivered by a chemistry professor at Butler University. He simply told us his life story and shared lessons learned. One of the experiences that he shared was taking his 5-year-old son to the neighborhood grocery store every Saturday. And every Saturday as they checked out, the professor would stop and talk with the cashier while the little boy fidgeted impatiently. Finally, one Saturday after they left, the little boy said, "Daddy, why do you talk to her?" And he explained to his son that all around us are angels. No, they don't have wings or halos like in the movies or in the paintings, but they are angels nonetheless. And that she was one of his angels. And every Saturday, she lifted him up. And then the professor looked down, and when he looked up, his eyes were full. And he said, and 20 years later, when that little boy, grown into a wonderful young man with a future filled with promise, was tragically killed in an automobile accident, she and my other angels came, and they lifted me up, and they carried me through the most difficult time of my life. So graduates, look for your angels. 45 years ago, a family of angels, including 4 named Ellen, Sheila, Monica, and Val, came into my life. And as with the professor's angels, they've brought me joy, they've carried me, and they've taught me lessons. One of those lessons that Ellen first taught me was that angels run in packs. They bring other angels to you. And in my case, Ellen brought one named John Edward Hegeman. Now, how do I know that John is an angel? Well, obviously by his characteristics. First and foremost, angels have a kind and loving heart and put others first. John certainly does that. The first time I met John, and believe me, I was really checking him out hard because of Ellen. I noticed that every time he looked over at Ellen, his eyes and face lit up. Through all the years, whenever we talked about Ellen, that never changed, even the last time we had an extended conversation. My favorite photograph of a father with his daughter is of Mary Kate's first Halloween. John brought her, dressed like a little rabbit, over to our house on Belmead. His smile in the picture is radiant, and I always remember the night he was so happy and proud. He was the same way when talking about Claire, or when you would see him at Bossy Field or the Aces game with Andrew. Even after his illness started to take hold, his radiance returned when he talked with me about the joy living brought into his life. Nothing kept him from putting family first. Angels are filled with compassion, and as with the professor's angels, they know how to best carry you through the bad times. I always remember the morning after what remains one of the worst nights of my life, calling John to ask for help. He cleared his calendar and I came to the office. As I described the previous evening, those expressive eyes looked troubled, and I could see him taking on some of my distress. When I finished, he shared enough with me to let me know that I was not alone, and he knew how I felt. He took away my embarrassment in sharing my story and having to ask for help, and I did feel much better. Angels have a strong faith, and John certainly has that. Christ stated that when you did it for the least of these, you did it for me. That was clearly evident in John's work on behalf of children, his efforts with Ellen on church charities, and which was all evidenced by an award that they received from the church. The award that, as is John and Ellen's ways, you never told me about. Angels have a sense of humor and can even be a little devilish. And again, that is John for sure. Our lunches, almost always over Asian cuisine, and at Jaya's he invariably ordered the chop chai, were filled with laughter and that sly smile. John's quick retorts always make him dangerous, and he can tell a good story on himself too. I'll never forget his sharing with me at the Chopstick House about the family vacation to Washington, D.C. It was during the Clinton scandals, and John was repeatedly mistaken for Special Prosecutor Kenneth Starr, even down to the inflection in his voice. The next time you hear Kenneth Starr, it's almost exactly the same. One of my other Corcoran angels, Val, shared with me, frankly, his less than jolly reaction when while he was in the hotel pool in Las Vegas, she called out, "Look, it's Kenneth Starr." Now think about how appalling that must have been for self-described Bobby Kennedy, Democrat. Finally, angels, while they are as strong as steel, know when it is appropriate to forgive. Another lawyer whom I was close to had a frustrating case with John on the other side. He sent a letter to John that frankly probably crossed the line. And John, in his reply, exhibited his steel as well. The lawyer showed me both letters, and he sincerely regretted that it had gotten to that point. And he asked me what I thought he should do. And of course, all you could say was, just give John a call. Tell him how you feel, he'll understand. And sure enough, when he made that call, John not only forgave me, but in the rarest form of coupling with forgiveness, he forgot the incident as well. Like all of you, I'm going to miss my relationship, my old relationship with John. But as he helped to teach me, the true relationship, while in a different form, will continue. And he'll always be with each one of us. Just like when I wrote these remarks about his being my angel and my noticing his eyes, I felt like John was with me. And while this is a solemn occasion, I couldn't help but laugh about thinking of the retorts he was making as I was composing the remarks. Even now, I can just see John and Dr. Corcoran trading quips about what I'm saying here. And even now, who knows, as I found with Ellen, maybe John will bring me another angel. John, thank you for being my angel. Now, I look forward to seeing you, but when that day comes, come on, please take it easy for these remarks I've made. Until then, God bless you, friend.
Ellen and family, honorable judges, members of the Evansville Bar Association. I'm proud to say that I had the great good fortune of being a friend of John Hegeman for nearly 38 years. Preparing these words for today has caused me to reflect on my long friendship with John and Ellen and how their friendship had a significant positive impact on my life, my family, and my legal career. John and I met in August 1982 when we were both first-year law students at the Indiana University School of Law in Indianapolis. We had a few things in common. John and I were a decade older than most of our classmates. John had been an auto worker in St. Louis, and I had been a high school history teacher in Vincennes. We were both full-time day students in the law school, and unlike most of our younger classmates, we were both married and settled. John and his wife Ellen lived at that time on the northwest side of Indianapolis. My wife Sandy and I lived on the east side. Sandy had a 4-year-old son, Chris. John told me some years later that law school had been a happy time for him. He loved the challenge of studying law. He loved the experience of learning new things. For me, law school was a bit different. Learning legal concepts and having to apply those concepts to a factual situation was difficult for me. I really struggled. I looked around the room at IU Indy and I saw a room full of young, energetic, and highly intelligent 22-year-olds who looked to me like they had everything under control. Wayne Trockman was in that room. So were Brett Niemeyer, Jeff Helfrich, and Terry Maurer. I was working my rear end off to brief cases and to keep up, but I felt alone and outgunned. I began to feel that Sandy and I had given up too much when we gave up our home and our tenured teaching positions in Vincennes. John Hegeman helped me get past my law school insecurities. He began by introducing me to Ellen and to a group of friends that John had already cultivated at the law school. He invited Sandy and me, and even Chris, to parties and to restaurant outings that gave us an opportunity to socialize and to relax. John did not try to tell me how to study or how to prepare for exams. He tried to encourage me when I needed encouraging. He was a sympathetic listener when I needed to vent. He was a true friend. After law school, John made every effort to stay in touch. He was genuinely interested in where we were and what we were doing. He also became kind of a sounding board for major decisions that I made in my legal career. He never tried to make a decision for me. He would listen silently as I told him what I had decided to do, and then he would quietly and calmly offer suggestions concerning my decision. He was particularly helpful when I decided to leave my first legal job in Versailles and return to Vincennes. He was also very supportive when I decided to leave my law partnership in 1990 and become a sole practitioner. John Hegeman really went overboard when I told him I intended to run for judge at the Knox Superior Court when in Vincennes in 1996. He immediately got on the telephone and began calling law school classmates from the class of 1985 for political contributions to my campaign. I've often thought how that must have been. John giving his little spiel, and then the guy on the other end or lady saying, "Tim, who?" John called to congratulate me when we won the primary in May. He walked with me and with my supporters in the Bicknell Labor Day Parade in Knox County. He drove to Vincennes to be with us on the night we won the general election in November. He was genuinely excited and happy for us. Unfortunately, John and I probably communicated less than years after that. We both worked too hard at our jobs and our community responsibilities. Sandy and I still saw John and Ellen, but not nearly enough. John and I were members of the Catholic faith, and we both belonged to the St. Thomas More Society of Evansville. Each May 1st, on Law Day, I would drive down to Evansville for the annual Red Mass at St. Mary's Church. After the Mass, John and I would meet downstairs and catch up over lunch. This was an event that we both enjoyed for many years. I think it is particularly appropriate that John passed away on May 1st, Law Day. Over the years, John regularly inquired about our son Chris and his progress. John helped Chris get his first job when Chris graduated from the University of Evansville. John also came to reception in Vincennes for Chris and his bride prior to their wedding in 2011. John was excited when Chris and his wife Erica moved to John's hometown, St. Louis, in 2014. John and I crossed paths in the courtroom only one time during all the years we were in the legal profession. About 10 years ago, John came to Vincennes for a motions hearing in my court. After hearing the arguments of counsel, I took the matter under advisement. Later, I ruled against John and his client on the motion. My friend John reminded me of my mistake gently and politely each time he saw me thereafter. John Hegeman was a great friend.
Ellen, Claire, Andrew, Corcoran family, Hegeman family. It seems like it was just a few years ago that I was standing for an EBA eulogy or memorial service for Harry Dees. I recall then we were all dealt a certain deck of cards of who we share our careers, in our case, who we share our neighborhoods with. Many believe those people that are put into our lives are somehow randomly or without design. But as I grow older, and I hope wiser, it becomes more apparent that this belief is mistaken. Our KDDK law partner, John Hegeman, is an example that we lead our lives not solely by some randomness, but rather there is also some degree of providence. Providence indeed exists for John Hegeman and for me. You see, John and I were in many ways opposites, as I was with Harry Dees. I spent a lot of time with Harry, and I spent a lot of time with John. John was witty, as Judge said, and Scott said. He was witty, he was quiet, he was soft-spoken by nature. Many of you in here know I am not. He was a lifelong St. Louis Cardinals fan. I am a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. John leaned towards the Democrat Party's viewpoints, sometimes pretty hard. And I, of course, lean more Republican. John was a Bosse High School supporter. I'm a Memorial High School supporter. John was good at dealing with elder law. I am not, never was. We are kind of like the odd couple. Those differences aside, we practiced alongside each other very happily our entire law careers at KDDK. In so many ways, his counsel and friendship made life for his colleagues, his clients, law firm, and myself so much better. I will never forget many, many late nights when I noticed that John's old Buick, and all the time I knew John, which was 30-some years, he only had 2 cars. And he finally got rid of the old Buick, or it broke down, and he had some snazzy red Chevy Malibu, is that right, Andrew? Trailblazer, SUV. And I would see it in our parking lot late, as I was often at the office late. And somehow, sometimes on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, somehow or another, John and I would end up in each other's office. We would share our day-ending successes and frustrations. Like Judge alluded to, and Scott, those conversations helped me gain perspective. Those conversations helped me go home uplifted. Those conversations so often relieved a day's burdens. They boosted me, they carried me on. I can only hope and pray that on some of those days, I was able to do the same for John. And you can hear in all 3 of our comments, John took very seriously, you see us counselors, practice law, the counsel of law was John's forte, and counseling people in general. John and our families had a very strange knack for following the same path. It's kind of weird. John used to come in my office and just look at me, what now? So the Hegemans moved to St. James Boulevard. We moved to St. James Boulevard, just a block away. They moved to Lombard Avenue to try and get away from me, and we moved to Lombard, very close. After others thought that I be moved from, because of my noisiness, to another office tucked away in a quieter location so I wasn't so disruptive, John moved into my office. This was the last office John had at KDDK. It was likewise Harry D's office. And Harry was a Democrat as well. Oddly enough, as I was carrying John's casket at his final resting place just a few weeks ago, I looked over and noticed our family's gravesites are within a stone's throw of each other. Such reoccurring proximity of pathways cannot just be a coincidence. Besides sharing a law practice, and now eventually a final resting place, destiny had it that our Lombard Avenue houses were directly across from each other in eyeshot of each other's activities. John, like myself, took to lawn mowing, and regularly he would be mowing with like his headphones on, and I had my headphones on, but John was always listening to the Cardinals, and I, of course, was listening to loud rock and roll. It was not uncommon that the first to finish mowing brought the other a cold beer. In fact, on one such simultaneous mowing day, Ellen, you'll remember this, he and I had to use a rake handle to exterminate a nasty, mangy red fox that had gotten into a bloody fight with John's beloved fox terrier dog. It's a fox terrier, right? It's a terrier, beautiful dog. Let me just say this, John was not quiet and soft-spoken on that day. John and I were not exactly Felix and Oscar. We shared a passion for Aces basketball. We share our Catholic faith, John going so far to almost become a priest. John and I both dedicated a good deal of our time and treasure, most often to the same nearby Annunciation Parish. Our homes had a special view of another local Catholic shrine, the St. Mary's Hospital Chapel. Mine in particular, in the back, I had this postcard view over an acre that looked right at the steeple. I and many of our community will forever be grateful to Ellen and to John for their dutiful servitude in saving that beautiful church from its demolition. John was a servant to many in so many ways. The ones I remember the most were his work on the city's merit commission, which today I think we understand how important that task is in every community. He was also a vital leader in preserving our Mesker Park Zoo at a time when it was certainly not on the firm ground it is today. John, as per the book of John, John was a gracious servant. He lent his time to many who were in need. Helen, Claire, Andrew, the entire Corcoran Hegeman family. John indeed was, as Scott Schroed said, an angel to many. Besides our regular late evening office chats, I would also often, and I will dearly miss, chatting with John late of an evening as he was walking the family dog. And we would hook up on the sidewalk if we hadn't already hooked up late at the office. John looked out for our family, and I know he's still with us. On the very day he passed, that, what is it, Andrew? Red Chevy Trailblazer mysteriously appeared in front of the Hegeman home at exactly the spot where John and I used to meet. It told me John was saying all was well. John did not come into any one of us' life by some random chance or choice. Rather, he was especially put here for all of us. We are all better for having had John in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers for sharing your stories, and thank you for everyone for coming here today. This really is one of the best things the Bar Association can do, celebrate and memorialize some of our best members. John really was a great guy. A transcript will be made of this proceeding and will be kept as a part of the official court records. Please join us directly following this proceeding for a reception hosted by the Hegeman family and Condis, Donovan and Con in the lobby. Thank you.
All rise, please.